Barcelona.
Oh yes, Barcelona. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now we're live streaming. So let's talk about Barcelona. Let's talk about Barcelona right after this.
Yeah, I'll be. Oh, okay. After this, okay.
Do you have any updates? Do you have anything to show off with cadCAD?
Well, for cadCAD, we are now moving towards having a unit testing framework, and I put this off for a bit because I was always like testing a simulation, which depends on random numbers anyway. That's kind of weird, but I recently realized that a lot of problems with the code could be really easily fixed with having an actual testing framework, just like, you know, people normally code in startups these days. So I started making one.
That's amazing. Yeah, and do you think that replacing random numbers for the testing framework will be something that you can just do with a set, where you just say, you know, in the test you replace random number with this?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
In the test, I basically, I don't really test so much at the simulation is providing reasonable results, because how do you quantify what's a reasonable result? I just say that I put in probability 1.0 and I put in probability 0.0, and I make sure that nothing breaks. So that's basically the extent of the tests. The good thing about having this test, which doesn't really test anything, but is that if something breaks in the code, you can just run the test and get into the offending section of code and not have to run the whole simulation. So that's quite quick, and hope that your random distributed thing finally hits that code. Yeah, so.
Nice. And is what you're gonna have a call with James tomorrow as well?
Yeah.
And get him onboarded for this, and that's really exciting. And then, you know, honestly, you were mentioning that you might want to work on this more if you could get paid more or something like that. Is that something that you think would benefit it at this time?
At this time?
Yeah, like are we in a moment where it's like, okay, if I could just put in an 80-hour week, we could get really far in this. Or sorry, 80-hour 2-week period, we could get really far in this.
It's like this. So I may have another project starting soon. Mm-hmm. And then when that does, because it pays so much more, then I will be, you know, subconsciously incentivized to work more on that project instead. So it would be great if either we do a sprint now, or we do like a higher rate, so that I also want to put more time into this thing as well, and not let it be swamped, taken over by the other project.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Okay, well, I will talk with Ravi on that, and maybe what I think I'd love to do is just have like a very clear roadmap and deliverables, and then I think once James is a little bit onboarded too, we should try to have a sprint. I think that sounds really fun, honestly. A little exercise in the mid-afternoon sun, you know, a good sprint. Mm-hmm. And we can have and we can get you to have some full hours before you get stolen away by real projects. God damn it.
No, but in general, I mean, you should try to get more funds, because otherwise it's always going to be like this. I mean, there's always going to be higher churn.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. It's always difficult as a nonprofit. You know, we're basically just funded by Gitcoin. And if
I mean, you could go to the government, right? Government is a nonprofit.
Yes. Well, yeah. Governments are governments. They can tax. It's quite the advantage. Nonprofits kind of get screwed, but that's why the common stack is here. They change that because nonprofits produce value. They just aren't appreciated.
But I mean, like, individual consumers wouldn't be so stoked about investing in a commons, but a government would be, right? Because that's exactly what it's supposed to do, maintain like commons of water and cleanliness and all that stuff.
Well, the cool thing with the commons is that you can actually make a profit by supporting the water.
That remains to be proven.
I would say that Bitcoin and every blockchain have proven the theory. Now, whether or not our structure of doing it will do it, that's another idea. But creating an economy around a shared resource definitely can create some incentives for people to maintain the shared resource. And that is proven. Now, at least I would say that cryptocurrency has proven that. I don't know that having an augmented bonding curve, conviction voting around now that, yes, that's definitely, we need to see that that works. But the foundation of theory is accurate. Prime coin is paying people to find prime numbers, even though no one cares about prime numbers. You know?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
CureCoin, have you heard of CureCoin?
Yeah.
Amazing. They're folding proteins for cancer research. That used to have to be altruistic. You know, you would run a computer program in the background and you'd be spending your own electricity and your own hardware on, you know, folding proteins because it made you feel good. And now people are like turning off their Monero miners and folding proteins for CureCoin because when it's pumping, and they don't even know what they're doing, and they're just doing it for profit, and they're folding.
Well, wait a minute. I've been part of the folding community, and I would say a large part of them are still actually incentivized by the feeling good part and not really by the CureCoin part.
Of course, that's the thing. But you can be incentivized by both. It's just like when you, you know, when you take a job that's working for a company that's building bombs versus a job for a company that's building hospitals. You know, like you can feel good about, you're like, oh man, I'm building this hospital or I'm building this orphanage and I'm getting paid to do it. Man, how did they trick? How is this happening? You know, but at the end, if you could, if you add that, if you can create that incentive on top of feeling good, you know, so that the people who are contributing to the, like, making the world a better place, we have more strategies to reward them, then boom, you know. Anyway, they were talking common stack general. cadCAD models, dude, I've been looking, what was I just looking at? I thought I saw like pictures and stuff in here. In some of your, in some of your code. Where did I see that? Well, anyway, do you have anything to push? Is it pretty up to date?
Yeah, it's pretty up to date. I have made changes like on Saturday, and that's about it.
Okay, perfect. Well, how would you feel about trying to make like some sort of roadmap on what needs to be done and what it looks like when it's finished?
Yeah, that would be cool. I thought Ravi was like doing this thing though.
Well, so that's for the whole project, but you know, we can't tell you what it needs to be done. You know, you kind of have to tell us, and go. There has to be a conversation about it, right? Like, we're not informed enough. So like you're adding in tests and such. You know, there's probably some other things, and you have made a bunch of really nice issues a few days ago or a week ago. I'd be curious to make some sort of like idea about what the roadmap would look like for this process. Like,
I don't have a roadmap. I do have an end goal, and this testing is one step towards this end goal, which is basically having a simulation framework where you could basically drop in this behavior and pull out that behavior quickly without being too distracted by how the code actually works. That is obviously a very subjective thing.
What do you mean behavior?
Like if I want to change the participant's behavior, then I would know where to go in, what part to change, and yeah, that's it.
So kind of like a config file where you go in there and be like, oh, these are the variables I can
No,
tweak.
it's not a config file. You still have to program it, but at least you don't have to search through. Oh shit, was it in this function? Oh shit, this other function. If I change it here, what other functions do I might have to update? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to do this while still trying to make sure I don't go too object oriented, because that kind of defeats the purpose of cadCAD structure.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so the end goal is to have a simulation framework where you can can I say tweak some variables?
Not tweak variables. Variable tweaking is easy.
Right.
Programming new behavior.
Where you can program new behavior. Oh, so where you can add new like policies and just say, oh yeah, like this guy. Now we have an archetype of a speculator, and
Yes. And then we could say that this speculator is either backed by by a model that we coded, or it is backed by a neural network.
Okay. Okay. So then, and where are you right now? Like, do you feel like you have the graphs working and are the graphs working?
I mean, the graphs are working, but the behavior is not.
Okay, so the graphs do work.
The graphs work, but it's not displaying anything of value because simulation isn't running as we intended it.
Okay. So like, for instance, the price never goes down.
Yeah. And nobody ever actually sells.
No one ever sells. Well, yeah, we're going to have to add selling. It's Father of the Year. Hey, Ravi. How's it going, man? We're talking about what cadCAD design, what the cadCAD system looks like when it's like, what do we have to do to get to cadCAD is done? That is a serious mouse. That's good. Okay, so we have to add selling in the every time I dig in my pocket or right. Is there?
You sound really weird, dude.
Yeah, look. Here, I'm gonna mute Ravi since he's not talking. And so we have to add selling in some way. What else do we have to? What else do you think we have to add?
I can't really remember now off the top of my head.
Well, more tests, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Onboarding James, for sure. Let's see what else. Well, we have to make sure that it's easy to just put. We have to remove random variables.
No, that's already done. They all go to a function now, which calculates a probability for it. So, and this function can be replaced with something that isn't really random.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing. And what about for when, like, if someone wants to input and tweak these 6 variables and they just send some data?
Well, right now, there are variables here and there are variables there. Like, you know, in cadCAD, there are some state variables here, and then there's some parameter variables there. And then within the code, there are some other variables there. and I don't know if there is value in bringing these values, which are set only inside the simulation itself, up so that there's one place to tweak them all. Yeah, because the variables that are inside, well, maybe there is. No, no.
I think there would be value in some sort of config file. You know, just a simple, oh yeah, this number, yeah, guess what? The simulator picks the number. So, you know, you have to tweak the config file, or at least like when the simulator, because it's going to send all the variables at once. You know, these 6 or 7 variables are just going to be sent there, and then the simulation should just run.
Okay, so it would be nice to have a sort of config file for the probability that a participant will appear if the sentiment is high, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can pull out anything you want into that config file, in my opinion, the more the merrier. But there is for sure like 6 or 7 definite variables that will be sent there. The number of hatchers at the beginning, the number of proposals at the beginning, you know, voting at the number of days for 80% max voting power, you know, all these random variables that we have in the narrative.
I think we need to organize these variables then into 2 types. One is how do you run the simulation? And the other kind of variable determines what happens in the simulation.
Can you define those two, the difference between those two a little bit better, or maybe with examples?
So there are parameters like how often, how do you run the simulation, how many runs, and then there are other kinds of variables like the probability that this is this, if that is that.
How often?
But actually,
we're only going to run the simulation ever once.
No, we run it multiple times, don't we? What?
Well, okay, so there's always this mix, right? There's the mix of like how you would really do a simulation and how we really care about the simulation being done for the commons stack's long-term success of designing commons. And then there's the game. And what I love is right now you're going for this first one, which is let's build these cadCAD models so that we can actually simulate a commons, you know? And then once we're happy with this, then we destroy the beauty and turn it into something that works for a game. That almost doesn't make sense, because honestly, the game it's just a game. You know, it's not actually.
But actually, the game has to come out soon, right? I don't really know when's the roadmap for that, but I mean, it's probably going to need to come out before this actual simulation's done.
I would say, I still think that we're probably not going to get it out before October. I don't know if Ravi has a different idea, but. But we lost Ravi for a second there. So Ravi, do you happen to have a timeline estimation for the simulator?
That's a tough one. Well, generally, you know, these things are a good timeline would be to say release it with some kind of event happening. So Danny said something about September having some radical exchange events, or I don't know. So that's just generally a good way to have a deadline where you create something and then you have a PR push that happens right after completion. So that's how you release it to the audience. So I guess rather than some kind of arbitrary deadline, maybe that's something that we can kind of look at as as a third prong strategy to the narrative design, the model, and then like an actual release, the marketing side of it. But maybe we can look at that and look at events and see where we can have maximum kind of spread of the product. You're muted.
I would definitely love to have some sort of project management call on the simulator this week, just to like finish the ClickUp and maybe add some of the dev tasks in.
Yeah.
But okay.
I'm free tomorrow. Tomorrow,
Yeah?
I have time. Today is not a good day, but tomorrow should be fine.
And we should give Ravi a round of applause. He's a father. He's a recent father. Congratulations.
Oh, is that why you have the mask on?
Yeah.
No, there's some people in the house right now. We need to get some HVAC stuff done. So but this is extra for just that also.
To see his baby, you know, he has to wear the mask. This is just the thing.
I gotta go. It's and his immunity is really low right now, so he's in the NICU. That is gonna go for a couple of months, but so this needs to be done constantly. I haven't used so much hand sanitizer ever. My hands are like cracked.
Sanitize.
Sanitize.
The Ravi touch. It's kind of like the Midas touch, but instead it just kills all bacteria at all times.
So let's do that tomorrow. I'm free.
Okay, let me check. I have a few things.
We should also, if you get a chance, set something up with Marco, the design front, because I think that's the narrative. I think we're like 80% of the way there. I think now the next kind of roadblock is the illustration and the design side of things. Particularly if Marco wants to kind of go big, like increase scope a little bit, that's really where we need to focus a little more.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'll try to make both these happen. I'm basically free after 2 p.m. your time. 2 p.m. till I don't know what that is. 5.
2.
Well, really anytime, but you know, eventually I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah, 2 to 6 is generally when I go to the hospital, so that might be tough. But I think we might be taking turns now because basically half my day is gone. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess I could try to do 6, which would be noon your time, but it'd be a little hard.
Yeah, 2 o'clock may be possible. I might be able to take the call in the car. Actually, no, it's terrible signal all the way to the car.
Okay.
We'll figure something out. We can do this asynchronous.
Okay. I'll put it on you to make the schedule.
That's fine.
If I don't do it now, I
understand.
Can't be counted.
I will handle that.
Okay, thank God. It's so nice to have an organized team. Okay, Andrew. So can you think of any other things? I'm going to make it like a little roadmap, a little mini roadmap for cadCAD as a starter, and then I'd just be curious to have you continue to fill it out and edit it, and we can start checking things off the list. Because once we have like a clear roadmap, then I feel like we could try to do a sprint on cadCAD.
Okay. Would you like to sit in for the call tomorrow, or?
What time is the call?
It's 12 Berlin time. Maybe it's 1 p.m. Barcelona time. I'm not really sure.
No, we're in the same time zone. At 12.
No, it's 12 p.m. tomorrow.
At 12, I am in a different call, but I can join at 1.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna go on that long, but okay.
Okay, well, maybe I'll drop in with Gustav and just say hi, but I don't think I can what I'll do is I'm going to make this issue in the cadCAD repo that you're working in, and then you can edit it with your call with James and add in more things. And then once we have a clear roadmap of what you're trying to achieve, then I would totally be down for a hard question.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that's everything for the call, unless you guys have anything else you want to discuss. Okay.
No?
I am going to end the call, but not, I'm going to end the live stream and not the call.